Hey guys, my name's Tim. I'm here today representing the faction, and I am on the line with Sam from brand new band Kubrick out of the UK. How are you this morning, man? You're up early. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, and thanks for having me. And I have to be an arsehole and correct you slightly. So Kubrick is not a band. I am Kubrick,
Of
technically.
course.
So I'm a solo artist. I have got a band though who are going to perform for me live with some friends. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's on me because a few people weren't sure since I've released my song are like, are you a band? Are you or it's me? So anyway, not your
Perhaps
fault.
artist would have been the better descriptor.
Artist. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Anyway, hello.
Awesome. Well, I mean, on that topic, then, I mean, you basically write and record all of the instruments, yes? Play
Yeah,
and
I write
record?
everything. That's nearly true. I write everything. I record. So I've got a batch of songs, only one of which is released so far, called "Painful," and
Painful.
I write everything. I record basically everything. About half the songs I made, I did record most of the stuff, but I when I say I recorded everything, as in it's me performing all the stuff,
Mhm.
with the exception of the drums. So where there's live drums on my music, I've got a good friend of mine called Adam Pedder, who's an absolute monster. And I like write the parts and I'll do it all at home. But then when we get to tracking, he'll learn what I've made. But then he's such a better drummer than I ever will be. So I'm very like relaxed about it. And I'm just like, do your thing, man. And he crushes it. It's very good.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And so, to introduce yourself to, our audience is majority Australian. You know, tell us a little bit about, your history and where you've come from. Obviously you played in the band Shields for a
Mhm.
while there. Sort of how did coming out of Shields and how that ended into Kubrick? How was how did this sort of form into this new solo project?
Sure. Well, so you said it yourself. I used to be in a band called Shields. But Shields started when I was, I guess, about 16-ish, and me and my best friend, who anyone who knew Shields will know about Joe, who was the front man. Me and Joe have been friends since we were like 10, 11, and we're still best friends today. Like he is basically like my brother from another mother, to coin a cheesy phrase. That's literally what he is to me. So we started up Shields together, and we did that for years and years and years, and it was a that was, I guess, my first real crack at like being in a band and doing music, and
Mhm.
and figuring it all out, and like did my like first ever EP or whatever, and did my first tours with that band. And it was a very, very exciting part of my life, because I was really young, and like really young, like I was a baby basically, like playing shows. And I remember doing, oh god, I remember getting like our first show with like a big band. We played some like all day gig in Wales with like Born of Osiris, for example, and we were like, oh my god,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Um, but then so was doing Shields for about 8 to 9 years,
Mhm.
and then Shields came to an end for a couple of reasons. I think that the statement that we put out at the time was due to the fact that a guitarist in our band had passed away. Our good friend and guitarist George, he had been in the band not for the majority of the time. He had joined within the last year or two. I actually can't specifically remember, but I think it was within the last year of the band's life, let's say, that he joined. But me and him had been friends for a good few years before that, and he was living with me, and we were good friends. But for those who do or don't know, or whatever, George dies. And after George died, as anyone can imagine, that was a very, very difficult experience, especially because of the nature of his death, because he took his own life. And that was a very, yeah, I remember that happened. And then the four of us, we literally all met up the next day at my house. And it was a very, just to sort of like kind of unify and be together, because it was a very, very, I saw, we were all very surprised. I know in hindsight, it wasn't really a surprise now, sadly. But there were things that I didn't know about. None of us knew about, that George didn't tell us about. And so anyway, that was a terrible experience. And I don't want to say actually that ended the band. I think little did I know, anyway, at that point, it kind of accelerated the rate at which Shields would come to an end, because we were just about to release an album, and then we did release an album, and that was great. And we had this tour of like Escape the Fate, which we were all very excited about. And that tour actually happened just before George died, but the album was up and coming. So we were like raring to go. And then this thing happened. And yeah, it definitely threw a spanner on our works. And we released the album, played the show. We did like an album release show, and it was all very exciting. But at that point, we all kind of just felt like, oh man, this has been really killed for us. Like the sort of, there was this weird, I would have phrased it as there was this weird flavor to everything. Like every time we had a band practice, and then every time we had a gig after that, it was always just a bit like, everything was like a bit of a bummer, because we were all just, it was tainted. And I don't know a better way to describe it than that. So Shields came to an end, and I remember thinking, as Shields come to an end, I had met she wasn't yet, but I'd met my wife, and I remember it came to an end, and I said to her, like, I have no fucking idea what I'm going to do now, because my identity in my self-identity in my head was, I am Sam from Shields or whatever, because that's the only thing I'd really done in my life at that point that I really was sort of proud of and cared about. And so and you know, there was this sort of running joke within, like, well, amongst the people I knew, like, I guess in what you could call like the English metal scene, there was this joke like, oh, Sam from Shields or whatever, and like just among my friends more than anything, and maybe some other types of people as well. So Shields ended, then suddenly I was just Sam, and I didn't really have anything, and I just spent all my time and energy on this band that just didn't exist anymore. So it took me a few years, but I basically just from the point of Shields ending to now, there was this sort of weird period where I started writing again, and I started then writing for other people. I did loads of ghost writing for lots of bands, especially European bands, and I enjoyed doing that all the while I was trying to write new music for what would be my next band. And I did that and actually at one point we were even going to do like a whole rebrand of Shields, and I was going to be the front man of Shields, and we were going to do this whole new thing. We actually even wrote a whole song, did all the vocals. It's just tucked away in my Dropbox somewhere, but we did this whole new Shields song with me screaming and singing, and we recorded with George Lever, who went on to be my producer. And as by the time the song had finished, I went to the studio by myself and kind of just did it all. I remember I was off and on the phone with the guys, and I was like,
the same members?
Yes, it was the same members as Alex and Larry, but Joe had technically left Shields. We just never announced it. Right. But there was no bad blood. There was no. Yeah, there was also no beef between anyone. Joe, as I said, Joe's still my good friend, but he just said, guys, I am done. Not with just kind of with like the band, but not you guys. But I also do still care about the outcome of everything. So basically, for the whole album cycle, the plan was he was going to be the front man, and it gave us like all this time to think about what we were going to do next. So that kind of turned in. That was also part of what accelerated the end of Shields, because we were going to rebrand with me as the front man, and kind of one thing came to another, and I was in the studio with George, and I even spoke to George on the phone. I was like, because we were becoming quite good mates at this point, and I was just like, I don't even know if I want to do this stupid band anymore. Like, and here I am spending money on like doing a new single, and we just did it, and I was very happy with that it turned out. And then we all literally were on the phone, me and the rest of Shields, and we kind of, my recollection was very mutually, we were all like, yeah, we're all kind of done with this actually.
So that song never saw the light of day?
That song never saw, it might one day. Well, the reason it hasn't is because I was going to turn it into a Kubrick song. I didn't know I was going to do Kubrick at the time. Because we were going to rebrand it, and then I'm just going to keep this. It's back there somewhere if I ever need it, and I've just never needed it. So that track might come out one day on the Shields page or something, just for fun. Gotcha. Probably have to. I don't know what. I don't know what I owe or don't owe to like the label, in terms of, because technically Shields is a signed band, but we're over, so I don't know what that means. So I don't know what it means to have to release it, but maybe one day. So anyway, to wrap up my very long-winded answer to your question, I immediately started writing, and I went through this period of writing music that sounded a bit like Shields but a bit different, and every song I wrote was a bit less like Shields and a bit less like Shields. And then eventually I kind of had enough songs that I went to George, and we tracked a bunch of songs, and then those were done, and then I kind of felt I had more to write, and I wasn't really like hadn't quite figured out what I wanted, what kind of music I wanted to make.
Mhm.
And within this process, I also wasn't sure if it was going to be as a band or I was going to do it myself.
Mhm.
And then I moved into the house I'm in now, which was a couple of years ago. And then I started writing again, and I wrote Painful and a bunch of other songs. And I remember going, okay, this is what I want to do. This kind of weird, dancey, sort of off-brandy metal thing.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish meets Mick Gordon crazy thing. And I was really into it. And at that point, I decided I was going to be a solo artist as well. And that was kind of it. I went and recorded the songs, and the last year has really been about getting my song out and getting the music video done, and that all got delayed because of COVID. And I think I would have been doing a lot more with Kubrick. I think I'm about 12 months behind where I would have been if it wasn't for COVID, because it took forever to get the music video.
I don't think you'd be alone there.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, it's not like everyone else has a head start over me. We all got fucked on that one, to be honest. But yeah, it was so annoying. I'm not alone in that one, I know. But anyway, and then come November just gone, I finally released my song, and I can't tell you how good it felt.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man. I heard it for the first time, and I love the duality of like the incredible clean vocal. You've got an incredible high register voice, and then to go into the heavy part of the song as well, and there's there's so many elements of like a real like almost like you say modern like dance and like maybe even a little bit of like trap music through to metal and sort of pop elements in it as well. And
thank you, man.
Obviously like you wrote the song or whatever, but also there's is having someone like George Lever produce it as well. Sleep Token and Loathe, two bands that I think in the last 2 years have done incredible things in the space of almost what I would call like dark pop. You know what I mean? Like a very
I know. I feel you definitely. Sleep Token, especially in that sort of like weird blend of like Sleep Token to me, I like a kind of it's like Coldplay meets Meshuggah. It's a very weird blend, but it works.
Yeah.
It's
and then via Deftones.
Yeah, right. Yeah, on the way. And then very similar with Loathe, I guess they've got they're very heavy. It's almost like tech Deftones, I think sometimes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're great, both great bands, and there's a lot of genre blending going on. I think in like just in like the sphere of like metal music. I think especially in the UK, there's a lot of genre blending. I guess that's the only word. That's the only term I can think of to kind of to kind of describe it. I guess really, but no, George is great, man. He
in the last couple of years, the UK really has led the charge. I think in contemporary sounding metal. You take a band like Sleep Token, like even people like Polyphia, stuff like that. There's and to now hear what you're doing it's just really, I really think the UK and Architects, Wargasm, like just excellent new sounding heavy music coming out of the UK, and I think it's brilliant.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you placing me in the same category as all those bands, man. It means a lot. Thank you.
Pleasure. It's and I mean, there was obviously a lot of care taken and a lot of you obviously got some really great people in to help you out with that film clip as well. It's incredibly made, incredibly detailed, and so slick. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I did have a lot of help. I mean, the whole concept for the video with the narrative of sort of me playing, I guess, myself in this clip where I'm sort of like infecting all these people with my dance moves or whatever. Like the idea on paper is kind of cheesy, but I also I actually think most of the good videos and ideas and creative ideas sound cheesy on paper initially. I did have a lot of people helping me put that together. It was the whole concept was sort of put together by myself and Kennedy, who's the director, James Kennedy, but he goes as Guy Kennedy. Yep. He's very talented, and he's done a number of videos for a band called Hot Milk, which is how I found. Yeah. So Jim, the guy from the male singer from Hot Milk is a mate, and he kind of put me on to Kennedy because he does all their videos and stuff. And yeah, Kennedy kind of put a treatment together, and I gave him this sort of mood board of like movies and clips and pieces of art and even songs that I liked, and I kind of told him what the song was about, and he kind of put together this idea together about this. It was to do with this idea of like a dance performance, because I'd see there's music video that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and the song's called Anvil by an artist called Lorne, and the whole thing is this slow motion captured one take of this cheerleader who's covered in blood pulls herself out of this car wreckage, and it's outside of this really sort of Pulp Fiction-y aesthetically pleasing, like diner, like in some kind of American suburb or something. And she kind of pulls herself out, and it's all in slow motion. It's very weird, but I think I'm not entirely sure how they did it. But then she out of nowhere sort of busts into this very powerful dance routine in time with the music, and makes her way through this diner, and she's all covered in blood. And then it ends with this like choreographed thing with all these other cheerleaders who have also been in car accidents. It's very weird. And I was like, I want to do that, but I don't want to copy it. So hence all the dancing and everything. And I think my main contribution was the idea that I'd have this like mask, which was the justification for me kind of being sort of unaware of what was going on with me, and the mask kind of zoning in on the other two boys who were in the video, kind of like zoning on them, and then they start dancing, and it becomes this whole thing. And yeah, it was meant to be fun. I didn't want it to have it was like, I think a lot of videos people often look for quite a deep meaning, but I'll be honest, I just wanted a really entertaining, captivating little story that was loosely related to what the song was about, because the song is about I mean, to be honest, I won't complicate it. It is basically just how I felt about myself when I was about myself at the time I wrote the song, which I have always had this kind of like weird battle with like sort of self-acceptance, and also just kind of being okay with who I am, and always feeling like I've always struggled with like, oh, I'm not doing good enough, or I'm a failure, or oh, God, I'm not sexy enough, or I feel really fat, or other people are doing this, why am I not doing that? And I've had a lot of self-destructive thoughts in my life, and it's actually, I would actually say right now is the best I've ever felt about myself, and I owe that to actually largely my wife, who helps me so much with Kubrick stuff, but is also largely like she's just my best friend in this world, and I love that. I love that. Man, she's the best.
And I will say, I was on your Instagram earlier, and I was like looking through your pictures and that sort of stuff, and I'm guessing that Molly is your wife.
Yes, that's correct.
And I saw her commenting on some of your pictures, and just like the support that I saw there from her.
She's the best.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And she has a little cameo in the video. Actually, she's the girl sitting on the wall with the two boys at the start of the video.
Okay.
So a little cameo she got, because I was like, mate, you got to be in the video. It's got to be a thing, definitely. But yeah, so she's amazing. But yeah, I mean, as I was saying, the song is about that struggle that I think is definitely not unique to me. I'm not the only. I was going to say man, but I'm definitely not the only person who's struggled with thoughts of, yeah, I suck and I hate myself, and I'm not quite sure how to not feel this way. So that is essentially what it's about.
So speaking of the film clip and sort of moving into film and that sort of stuff, I also found out that you have an IMDb profile, and that you've been in a couple of movies over the years.
I have a long time.
One of which was Son of Rambo, which I've seen, and I was just like, my God, what the hell?
Yeah, man.
So how did that come about? Were you just was that a familial connection, like to film, or that's not a bad guess, but actually, I mean, sort of, but sort of not. So it came about. I was an 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy at school, and there's a woman called Susie Figgis. I don't know if she's still in the business, but she was the casting director of that movie, and she had been going to lots of schools in the UK trying to find new actors to star in this film called Son of Rambo, and
it's great. And she just happened to have a daughter who was attending my school, which was the only reason she came to my school of many. And she was just holding open auditions, and
Wow.
they they'd announced like in the school email or something like, oh, you know, if your kid wants to, they're looking for boys and girls, but primarily
Wow.
boys to play I auditioned, I think, for the main part in that movie. And I just went along because, you know, free lunchtime audition to be in a movie. It sounded so fun. And I did. I think I did, thinking nothing of it. And I got a little callback, and I did the callback, and I didn't get the main part, but I got this sort of small speaking part, which was, you know, it was an inch above an extra, really. It wasn't like I have one little moment in the movie to myself where I'm walking down the stairs and fake whistling, and I have this little interaction with one of the other boys in the movie. But yeah, it was a lot of fun because I got to be in a movie, and I shared a caravan with one of the other boys, and you know, it was weird being on a movie set. It was a lot of fun. It was actually the movie that I don't know, oh God, what's his name? But what is the boy who plays the sort of blonde asshole in Maze Runner? What's he called?
Oh,
and he's also in Ria the Millers, and he plays the sort of dummy, and God, he's the blonde, and he's got the eyebrows like this. Will Poulter.
Will Poulter, yeah, the guy who's been cast in as Adam Warlock. Yeah, he's in the movie. Yeah.
Right, so he's in it. That was his first movie, and it was a weird one because he wasn't famous at the time, and so me and him and the other main boy and a bunch of other boys who were in the movie were all this little club of mates and stuff. And I'm not in contact with him anymore, but he was very nice, and it was a very fun experience.
Could have been your way into the MCU, mate.
It could have been, but he's obviously gone on to be a fucking sick actor.
Yeah.
And like doing awesome things. Like I remember seeing him with
eyebrows.
Well, do you know he's this guy?
Crazy. That's all you need to do, and everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, that
guy." Yeah, exactly. He's also been in video games, or at least a video game. He was in I don't know what it's called, but there was a game similar to another game called Until Dawn, where it's like a multiple choice thing, and it's like a horror game. I think it was called like Medan or something. I can't remember exactly, but lots of Let's Players have played it and stuff. But no, sorry. Again, I'm giving you very long-winded answers to your questions.
No problem.
I was in Son of Rambo. I also then was in one other movie, sort of as a result of that, because I remember I was very young at the time, and because I was acting and I was getting paid, for some reason, maybe I'm misremembering this, but there was some reason I got an agent by default just by being in that movie to sort of. I don't know if that was legally necessary, because I had to have like a chaperone to be on set, and my parents weren't always around, if they were just working or whatever. So they had this woman who would kind of look after all us kids who weren't main characters. But as a result of that, I got an agent, and then I got another film from that, which was less fun, but still enjoyable. I played I can't remember what my character was called, but I was in this movie called Glorious 39, and it had a really now, if you look back on the cast, it had some really cool people. Like David Tennant was in it, the Doctor Who guy, fucking Eddie Redmayne, heartthrob of England, Bill Nye, loads of crazy people. I'm trying to remember. Oh, and also the late, what's her name? Is it Christopher, who played Saruman in Lord of the Rings?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee was in it as well. And my
Dracula,
character,
Saruman, Scaramanga, James Bond.
Ridiculous.
What the hell?
And my character I played Christopher Lee's character as like a 12-year-old boy in my movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I look anything like him. I don't think I looked anything like him then.
I watch this movie now. That's wild.
But it's wild. I remember at the time I was like, this is wild. Even because I love Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Yeah. I love all of that stuff. And I was like, this is sick at the time. I actually never met I met barely any of those people I just reeled off, because I weren't in a lot of their scenes. I think the only fun actor I met at the time, and I didn't know who he was. I don't think anyone really knew who he was at the time. Maybe I'm being really rude about him, but I think I hung out with Eddie Redmayne a lot, which was fun. But at the time, he was just this nice guy called Eddie. He wasn't Mr. Fantastic Beasts at that point. So that was kind of fun. I did that. And then actually I realized very quickly, even though I was like 12 or 13 or something, I did that movie, and it was very long and very tiring. That was like a real movie. It was the Son of Rambo was like,
it was just like a really well acclaimed indie film, right?
What, Son of Rambo?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it was very. But the guys who put it together were really talented. They had a company, probably still do, called Hammer and Tongs, and they did like music videos for Blur and shit. Like they did some really cool stuff before that movie as well. But that movie was way more of like a fun experience, and it wasn't like tiring because I didn't have that much to do. Whereas this next film I was in, Glorious 39, the director was so much more of like, he was so much more of like a director kind of thing, and he just worked everyone to the bone, and he was perfectly nice. That was a very weird time in my life, actually, because my mum passed away when I was a teenager, and whilst filming that, she was like particularly ill, and then she died, and then the film came out, and we went to like the little premiere, which was fun, and it was so awkward because it was obviously fun as a premiere, but everyone was like, oh. It was a weird one because like, oh, the boy who we've just been acting with for like 2 weeks, his mum just died. It was a very weird time because it was kind of exciting to be in a movie, but my mum died and I was like like barely a teenager. So it was a very weird time in my life, to be honest.
That's some serious mixed emotions there, man.
Dude, it was some mixed emotions. Yeah, that mixed emotions is, I'm very familiar with mixed emotions. Yeah, multiple things happening. So, but yeah, after that movie, actually, regardless of that tragedy, I remember saying both to my mum and dad, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is,
wow.
It's fun. It's a good opportunity. I remember even a little 14-year-old boy, it's a good opportunity or whatever, but I just hated doing it. I actually really didn't. The second movie, I was like, I wouldn't have used these words, but in hindsight, it was a grind I wasn't into because I didn't care about the end result. Yeah. I'm happy to work really hard and stuff and drive myself crazy.
I mean, but that's obvious with music.
Well, I hope so. Actually, I do hope so, but I also hope it isn't so obvious that I'm here just grinding and just getting really stressed and feeling exhausted.
No, I'm sort of saying you're obviously happy to put it, like, to push yourself and put the effort in when it comes to music.
Yeah, definitely. My downfall is I sometimes focus way too long on the wrong things. I don't think I spent too long on the music because I think that's ultimately the most important thing. But I think I get paralyzed in my indecision sometimes in life, actually, not just with music stuff. I'm sort of looking at I have to the side of me a whiteboard of stuff I've written down, and I'm just trying to find examples of what I mean. But like, for example, for my next single, which is not released yet, and I can't talk too much about yet because it's just too early at this point. But this whole week has just been about trying to decide what the bloody artwork is going to be, and needing to decide the artwork so I can upload it to Spotify in time, and worrying about the order, and that happens. And yeah, I get really obsessed and stressed about the smallest details, which don't really matter. And actually, if I stressed less about them, I'd get them done quicker, and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Just taking a little quick step back into the film thing, you talked about a director there. Obviously, the name of the project that you're doing is Kubrick. It's your family name. I saw on one of your TikToks there, I'm Stanley Kubrick's grandson.
Yeah, I got convinced into doing that. I mean, it was a bit. I just did it because TikTok's meant to be stupid and fun, so I try not to take myself too seriously. But no, I am a grandson of Stanley Kubrick. That's true.
Yeah. Is that something that, in your daily life, you sort of, does it like, even without knowing, when you meet someone and they say, oh, Kubrick, oh, Stanley Kubrick. And
that definitely happens. That definitely happens. But actually it's not nearly as much of a thing as as a person may think. Like, I'm 27. And my granddad, I think, was, again, this is how, I don't really know. My understanding is that he was like hot shit in like the 80s and 90s. I mean, he was doing stuff before that and after. And actually, my personal favorite film of his was his last film, Eyes Wide Shut. That's my favorite one. Crazy movie. Absolutely ridiculous.
Very, very.
But yeah, this is the thing. Anyone in my sort of generation of within 5 years, at most, they'll go, oh, Stanley Kubrick, didn't he like make movies or something? Or wasn't he like, oh, Space Odyssey? Oh, cool. But then you go a bit older, like anyone who's like 35 and older, and you get a little closer to like, oh my God, and they can't believe it. Or like any of my dad's generation, because they would have grown up, they would have gone on dates to see his movies and stuff or whatever. And they can lose their mind. Actually, or any film student just shits their pants when they find out Yeah, just absolutely. And they go, oh my God, and it's this whole thing. But most people go, who? What? Clockwork Orange? What? We've never heard of it.
Yeah,
And
that
then,
I mean that does my head in because I've seen all of those films.
I mean, the thing is, I don't bring it up. So
Yeah, of
I have
course.
certain friends who are like, who might not know each other, like my friends, but then if they ever meet and one of them's like, oh my God, Kubrick, and the other isn't, like the friend who will be who will think the Kubrick thing is really cool will go like, how have you not seen like The Shining? Like, how do you not know about like the accent, like the Here's Johnny and everything? Like, how do you not get that reference? And all that kind of thing.
I mean, that's still in meme culture, man. There's so many.
It is a little bit, but but so many memes are just like popular and people don't actually know where they came from. Do you know
The
what I mean?
origins of, yeah.
Plenty of people just like jump on like a hype train of a meme and don't actually know what the movie is. And
Yeah.
I'm literally guilty of that myself. There's so many memes where the picture's just funny and I'm no idea what the reference is at all. But man, I remember when memes were like the thinking lizard guy,
Yeah.
and with the like, that's what I remember seeing that and going, a meme? What's this?
Yeah.
Like way back when, and like it was all like the weird like what was the black lined with white background faces of like being very I can't do any of the faces, but they're like all very serious.
Yeah,
That's what I remember. And now memes are this whole weird in-depth inside joke
and
culture.
you need to know the context and the history of the. Oh man,
yeah, there's a lot of memes which are just aren't funny for that reason, but then there's some which are just absolute gold.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to. You said you sort of don't want to reveal too much about the next single and all that sort of stuff. But I guess 2022 is coming up. It's just about upon us.
You'll have a new song from me in January, 100%. That I can definitely confirm. And I'm going to be rolling out singles basically pretty regularly from January. I nearly didn't release Painful this year because I was thinking about just going January and then every month I'd just be like bang, 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 bang. But I was so desperate just to get a track out, and there'd been so many delays. I was like, I'm just going to do it because my worry was dropping it in November and then there's like December and Christmas and everything and people can focus. But I was like, whatever, just get the song out and then we'll just start off January with more music. So yeah, there'll be a new single in January at some point with a video and stuff, and yeah, it'll be good. More of the same. I can't wait. Actually, I think the new song. Well, there were new songs, but my next song, it's very much still within the same genre that Painful is, but it is not the same song at all. It's way less dark and way more. Well, you'll see. It's different, awesome. But it's very in keeping with the same style. Definitely.
That's great to hear. Well, if the listeners sort of have just jumped into this, I've been chatting with Sam of the project Kubrick, and we've been chatting about Painfall and his life to date and a whole bunch of stuff. So I just want to say thanks so much for your time, man. It's been so great to actually get to know a little bit more about the project and to hopefully expose you to a few new listeners here in Australia. And I really wish you the best of luck, man. I think there's a long career ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and yeah, be exposed to your listeners who haven't heard of me and stuff. And yeah, it means a lot, man. So thank you for your time as well.
My absolute pleasure.